The village in it with a map and a plan. No place too tiny for this determined man. Crossing the counties one by one, you'll see in every English corner a bit of history.
Welcome back to South Derbyshire again, everybody. We're in another very small slice of this particular bit of Derbyshire today. Behind me, you can see we've got a church. Now, that's the only church in this parish. It's not like Trusley with two churches. There's literally just the one here. And it's at the end of a dead-end lane, and all you've really got for company is a field full of cows. Lovely. This is Dalbury LEES. Dalbury LEES, clearing with Dallas Fort. Today in South Derbyshire, we're taking on the parish of Dalbury LEES. Again, this is a small one, but the population includes Trusley, which, as we know, is less than 30 people. This one is about 6 miles from both Burton-on-Trent and Derby, and just under 4 miles from Eggington. There are actually 2 villages here named Dalbury and LEES, which themselves are some 2 miles apart. This has led to some rather creative names for the parish in the past, such as Dalbury with LEES, but today, Dalbury LEES is the preferred term. Dalbury is mentioned twice in the Domesday Book, where it's spelt Delbeby and Dellingberry. It's the smaller of the 2 villages, with a handful of houses, a church, and during the 19th century, a school that could take 60 children. The church is said to have the former tower of Trentham Priory. LEES, on the other hand, is much larger, with around 70 houses and several farms. It's there where our main walk will be today, as we explore such landmarks as the Cow, a pub considered to be the parish's communal centre, and not just by the locals either. A new village hall was recently completed on the main road through LEES village too, so now the locals have a choice. How lucky are they, right? The green opposite the pub is frequently used for village fetes and car boot sales, so there's a lot going on here, all in all. Let's see what was happening in Dalbury LEES when the village idiot came to town in late November 2024. Walk time. We start with Dalbury, the smaller of the 2 villages. Here we have All Saints Church, which dates back to the 13th century. It's a Grade 2 listed building. The Domesday Book records Dalbury as having a church and a priest. No trace remains of that original building, although the font may be of an early date. The church you see here today is mainly from a 1629 rebuild, although it underwent minor alterations in the 18th century. It was last restored in 1844 with a contribution from Queen Dowager Adelaide of Saxe-Meiningen. Its north aisle was also added at that time. This church has what's believed to be the oldest complete stained glass window in an English parish church. It features a Romanesque figure of an archangel that's thought to date from the early 12th century. The tower should also not be overlooked. It's said to have previously belonged to Trentham Priory in Staffordshire. The woodwork inside the church is mainly by the Reverend Charles Cotton, whose coat of arms appears on the bosses on the timbers in the roof. Now, this church is open. I didn't expect that, quite frankly, because I thought this is one of the ones that the people would keep locked, seeing as it's pretty much in the middle of nowhere, but we're in anyway. There's not much in the way of light in here. I found the light switches, but only one light appears to have come on, and that's one above me head just there. Look, if you can see it. I'm not even sure you can see that. It's there anyway. But it's the only source of light we've got up other than the windows. So it's a bit gloomy in here. So let's see what we've got in the chancel. We've got a couple of tablets here. One for Isaac Smith, formerly clerk of this church, but latterly clerk of Trusley Church. Also bailiff of this manor for 40 years. That's on one side. And on the other side, we've got John Bond. The name's Bond. Clerk of this church and labourer at the rectory for 34 years, died in 1846. Highly respected by all who knew him. Well, I would imagine he would be, being a church clerk. Let's head into the chancel a bit more. There we go, we've got a nice bit of stained glass there. How about that? That's quite pretty, actually. A couple more tablets on the wall to the left, but don't ask me to read them, it's far too dark. And then on the right there's another one as well, but that's impossible, pretty much. So that's the chancel. Quite a small church, this, in the grand scheme of things. Certainly not the biggest one we've ever been in. It's not exactly Derby Cathedral, is it? But it's certainly a nice little church, isn't it? Nice to have a look around. You notice the box pews? See there? Box pews. We see a few of them, don't we? With box pews as opposed to the normal ones. I suppose you can call the other ones normal. Now on the wall here, who's that? Well, that's our current king. King Charles. What's he doing in here? I wonder if he ever came to this church. Who knows? Okay, let's head on out and back up to the car. We'll drive through the rest of Dalbury. There's not much to it. And we'll head for LEES, where our main walk will be. Dalbury doesn't have much more than the church these days. It used to have a school though, which could hold as many as 60 pupils. That's a crazy number, given how many people live out here. There was once a small chapel here too at one time. In the chapel yard is a notable tomb, that of Ralph Taylor, who died in 1790 aged 84, and Elizabeth, his wife, aged 96. Considering we're talking the late 18th century there, living that long was nothing short of miraculous in those days. Hey, maybe that's the answer, you know. Live in rural Derbyshire and enjoy a long, happy, prosperous life. Let's see how the residents of LEES live today. Okay, here we are then in LEES, and our start point is right here. It's the village hall. We're at the northern end of LEES village here, and all we're going to do really is walk straight through it to the south, down to the green, to the Cow pub, and then turn around and come back. It is that simple. But this is actually the biggest village I've got planned this week, believe it or not. That just shows you how small some of these places are. LEES' newest landmark is the village hall. Named Dalbury LEES Village Hall in reference to the official name of the parish, this opened in 2008 after a long fundraising period and support from the parish council. The hall is available to hire for private events, community groups and commercial activities. The hall's event space is 81 square metres and can accommodate up to 60 seated people. It has a fully equipped kitchen, an outdoor space, seating and a small children's play area. Although it primarily serves the parish of Dalbury LEES, many of the other neighbouring villages take advantage of this hall. I'm talking about places like Trusley, Radbourne, Longford, Osleston and Thurvaston. In true Derbyshire fashion, visitors from the surrounding areas are of course equally welcome. Now the village hall is just one of the communal venues here. There are two, the other is the pub. That though is at the southern end of civilization and we're currently in the north. No matter, let's walk through LEES village and chat about it as we go. LEES is basically one single lane that runs north to south off Long Lane, the old Roman road running westward out of Derby. Both it and Dalbury are almost entirely residential these days. Of course, this is rural Derbyshire, so in times past, farming would have been the main occupation for the average LEES resident. That's not as prevalent as it used to be now. Most people who live here take advantage of the easy access to Derby or Burton and drive to work instead. It's another quiet place. It's not totally bereft of sound to the point where you hear a pin drop, but it's not far away. I think, above all, in a place such as LEES, you've just got to admire the beauty of your surroundings. I reckon people who live here are rather lucky. Okay, so we've very quickly reached the other end of the village. A simple straight walk down from the village hall to the Cow pub, which is currently behind the camera. We'll see that in a moment. And look behind me. Look, it's a parish notice board. I haven't seen one of these yet this morning. Osleston and Thurvaston didn't have one, or if it did, I didn't see it. And the same goes for Trusley. They're just too small. Well, LEES is a bit bigger, so that's probably a good reason to have one of these things. You know what that means? Let's mark it off. If there's anywhere to put it. Oh, there we go. It's kind of shielded from the rain up there as well. So this is the Cow. Now that's a proper rural name, right? In actual fact, the Cow used to have a name that was a tad longer. It was previously known as the Black Cow and was a traditional country pub. After being restored in 2017, it became a boutique hotel with 12 rooms, a restaurant and a bar. The hotel has retained its 19th century character with features like wooden beams, quarry tiles and antique paintings. Its bar stools are pretty funky too. They're made from milk churns which have been topped with tractor seats. The country theme continues throughout the building. The guest rooms have prints of cows adorning the walls and even some cow upholstered stools. Food-wise, it might be a bit hard to find a place that's as good as this in Derbyshire. The Cow's speciality is seafood, and yes, I know, Derbyshire is nowhere near the coast. No matter, all the seafood served here comes straight from the fishing boats along the coast of Cornwall, and it's delivered on ice. Although it's geared more towards guests these days, the Cow has remained a village staple and a well-used communal space for LEES residents. It's a popular spot for local history tales, amongst other things. Now I have to admit, I wasn't expecting a lot from this one, but it has pleasantly surprised me, to be honest. Dalbury LEES is quite happy to just sit in the South Derbyshire countryside, minding its own business, and it's done that pretty well for centuries. Long may it continue. Let's move on to its neighbour, which is a bit more brash and upfront. See you later. Now, just before I go, remember, this video is part of a huge project to visit every civil parish in England. That's more than 10,000. These routes are pre-planned, and due to time constraints, I can't cover every detail or walk down every street. Please don't complain if this video missed something out. I pronounce names how I choose to. I am very aware that local dialect may vary, and I don't take kindly to criticism about this. You've been warned. It's impossible to know everything too. If this video was terrible, make your own. If you're a regular watcher of The Village Idiot, you're not the only one. If you've got a small business, why not use my videos to advertise it? Leave a comment below if you're interested. And finally, thanks for watching this episode, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this episode, and share it with your friends and relatives. It all helps to keep this mission going. Until next time, I've been Andy, also known as The Village Idiot, and I'm out.